Hey boss, I'm excited and thank you for joining me today. I am going to be talking about how to become a strong leader at work. And so if there is another boss that you know that might benefit from this video, then please share this with them. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about how to become a strong leader at work. And I have got a PhD in this, and I have experienced probably just like you when it comes to working for other people. And I learned mostly, I tell you, before, my graduate and my getting my PhD in this, that I learned what to do and what not to do when I managed a team by how my bosses led me. So I had bosses that were amazing. I mean, they, were supportive. They were clear in what their expectations were. They actually helped, to made sure that I trusted them. They were great in giving me feedback and had respected my opinions. And then I had the boss that was, pretty much a jerk. That boss that I'm thinking of in particular played favorites, and I was not one of the favorites. So he was disrespectful, was not even open to anything that I wanted to share on how to lead my department or my team that I had. And pretty much, the playing favorites thing was really the last straw. And so basically after my the contract that I had, once that ended, I was gone. I was out of there. But the good news, because there is such a thing as karma, he actually was let go long before I decided to leave the company. So there is a thing as karma, and I do believe in it. So anyway, but I don't want this to happen to you. I want you to actually be a strong leader, and I want you to have the team that is going to follow you to the success of the company and to your own personal and professional success as a leader. Hey, I'm Dr. Heather Williamson with the Transformation Group, and welcome back to the channel. All right, so let's get started. So I have some tips on how you can become a strong leader at work. And the first is to build trust. This I have as number one because I think it is the foundation for having a strong team and having a team that believes in you and will follow you. And I wrote a book on this, and that is why I think it is so important, magnetic trust. And I'll put a link in it in the comment section if you want to check it out. But being a leader requires you to have a team that trusts in you. And they want to know that you have their back when it comes to successes and when things don't go right. All right. They want to know that you have their back. And that's not a small thing to actually ask. I strongly believe in having my people's back. When it comes to having trust, it means that you demonstrate that your personal actions and your interest do not supersede that of the team and the company. Which means that, hey, it's not the Joe show or it's not the Suzanne show. It is the company show. And your interest, your ego really should have no play in it if you want to build trust. So building trust is the first tip I have for you. The second tip is to be authentic. And being authentic first requires you to know who you are. Know what your core values are. I talked about this in the video I did last week on how to hire top talent. So check that out. But when it comes to being authentic, yes, know who you are, know your values, but you also have to translate that into the company. So you have to know what the company values are. And if this is your company, then they need to be part of the company values and company culture. Also, when it comes to being authentic is really understanding and being genuine, really, when it comes to appreciating and recognizing your staff for their contributions. Be true to yourself, okay? The third tip I have for you on how to become a strong leader at work is to take ownership. This is not the time to play the blame game. The blame game does not work. Your people will not be following you if you play the blame game. And when it comes to taking ownership, it's owning your mistakes, owning what went wrong, and working with your team to fix it and correct it. Also, it comes to taking risks. Being taking ownership is taking risks of what you need to do to grow the organization. If you are static and are comfortable with the status quo, then if failure happens, that goes back on your shoulders. Excuse me. Also, when it comes to taking ownership, it's also think about feedback, being open to feedback when things don't go right. So Joe may have had a great idea. You didn't take it. And you go, hey, Joe, I should have really listened to you. So let's get together and tell me a little bit more about what needs to be done in order to be successful in this project. So taking ownership. Now, the fourth tip I have for you is to promote two-way conversation. So when we're promoting two-way conversation is to create an environment for your team where they do not fear that there is going to be retribution for them being honest in what is great about you as a boss or great about the company and what is not. And so that means you're not going to shut them down. You're not going to cancel them out. This thing that's happening right now in today's businesses and our environment where cancel culture is running things, I cannot stand it, and I find it disgusting. Because if you want a cancel culture, then your company is going to be made up of people who think the same. And that is groupthink, and that is not what you want. You want diversity in thought. You want diversity in how approaches are taken. And if you cancel that out, then you're not going to get that. You're not going to be open-minded to others' ideas and suggestions and opinions. So that is not a way to be a strong leader at work. So encourage the sharing of ideas and concerns. Encourage it. Don't put it down. Don't put a hammer on it. So also when it comes to promoting two-way feedback is to keep your people informed of what is happening in the business, what the goals are, what the challenges are. If there are going to be changes in how things are done, whether it comes down to an org chart where you're going to be realigning people and who they report to, whatever those changes are, make sure you explain that and do it in a way where they understand the why behind it, not just we're doing it. So make sure you give a clear explanation and the why behind why you're doing what you're doing. Also, be collaborative. Create a working culture. Create that environment where if you want feedback, then let it be collaborative. Let's share ideas and the best solutions on how to get to where we need to go. And then have, an open door policy. Let people know that, hey, you're open to just popping in and say, hey, I got this idea. I've got this product or a process that will really help streamline things. Let it be, let them know that you are open if you want to be a strong leader. Now, the fifth strategy or fifth tip I have for you is to know your team. When it comes to knowing your team, you need to know what they're good at and what they're not good at, and make sure that you put them in roles in leading projects or jobs that are going to let them be successful and shine. Give them, the power to make decisions. And if they are, also make sure that the work that you are giving them is challenging. People like to be challenged. So know your team. When it comes to knowing your team, also that means to make sure that you allow them to be able to share things and you truly listen to what they're saying. If you do not listen, then you're really not going to know who they are as individuals. The sixth tip I have for you today on how to be a strong leader at work is to be positive. I think of this, one of my clients I had, his name is Chris, and he just exudes positiveness. And I say this because people who work for him love working for him. He is always thinking about the team, what they contribute and how they contribute in a positive way. He recognizes those achievements. He also is going to, things are not always going to be coming easy, and there are going to be goals where some of them might be challenging, but he's always highlighting the positive aspects of everything. And I'm not saying that, it's all going to be roses and unicorns, but he does it in a way that is very accepting by his people, his team that reports to him. And he's open, he's always got a smile on his face, and that positive attitude just goes extremely far in his organization. So when it comes to, these tips that I share with you, it really comes down to leading by example in everything that I shared with you. And just to recap real quickly, the ways that you can become a strong leader at work is to 1, build trust, 2, be authentic, 3 is take ownership, the 4 is promote two-way conversation or two-way feedback with your team, the 5th is to know your team, and then the 6th is to be positive. So hopefully these tips I shared with you today are going to help you become a stronger leader at your work. If you did, please like the button below. Don't forget to subscribe so you get more great tips like this. And last but not least, go out and be that boss that your employees want to work for. All right? Until next time, have an amazing day. Bye, bosses.